Queens, did you ever feel like this guy is great? He could be a great father, he could be a great husband, but you were not sexually attracted to him. And you were concerned that you weren't going to have a great sex life once you got married. Was this a topic that ever concerned you? So if this is you, we're gonna talk about that today, and what we're gonna discuss is the human nature aspect of it. Like, we're gonna break down the dynamics of sex, and we're gonna break down how men are biologically wired around this topic. We're also going to be talking in the end about, do you have to compromise one thing for the other? Or what about compromise? Or what about this? So we're also going to talk about the long term. Yeah. What all of this means in the long term. So as many of you know, what I teach in this channel and in my coaching practice is geared towards the long term, towards a marriage that will last decades. I myself have been married for 13 years now. And so I don't teach you anything that has the short term into consideration. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This is by far one of the biggest problems in the dating world, the whole topic with the sex. And just last week alone, like during the holidays and stuff, I kid you not, I had 9 women coming to me, like inquiring about coaching, and their main problem was that, or they seemed to believe that their main problem was that they didn't want to compromise their sex life in the long term for the nice guy. Okay? And let me just say that the women that actually sign up for coaching with me and the women that are long-term successes, these kinds of women, they almost never really sign up to my coaching and what I have to teach them, because they are in a completely different planet. And let me just say, these women are in the ages of 35 to 45. Most typically women in their 40s, or like 39, 38, 40. It's very rare that I bump into someone younger that comes with this issue, because women that have this seem to have that issue of like the sex life and the nice guy and that kind of stuff. They have been chronically single for decades and decades and decades. Yeah. Like, these are not women that were typically in like a marriage or whatever, right? These are women that are with a guy for a year or 2, 3 at the most, and they go on to the hookup cycle over and over and over. So that's kind of the introduction. But let's talk about point number 1. So these women, they come and they say, you know what? I am in my prime. I have discovered what great sex is like. So these women, they discovered a magic spot right by their cervix. Okay? They discovered all the magic that the yoni holds, okay? And they're getting together with men and doing it a lot because they want to make sure that, they're fully compatible and they're going to have a great sex life, And meanwhile, the guy is like, yeah, good for you. Whoa, what a discovery. Like, bravo. Because for men, the whole great sex thing happens in every freaking encounter. Like in every freaking encounter, they'll have an orgasm. You get it? So for women, it's kind of like discovery or like a freaking novelty to have an orgasm when they're with a guy. So these women that start to have this problem, this dilemma, they want to have this relationship where they have that. So they're getting together with men, and the men are like, oh, yay, free sex. Let's go for it. So they'll use them for a while, a year or two at the most, and then back to square one. And I mean, I'm telling you, this is a year or two at the most. Typically, it's like 2-3 months, but your best case scenario is like a year or two. So to men, they get this stuff everywhere. The free sex and the great sex is everywhere. And here you are. Oh my God, you had this epiphany about the great sex. And the men are just laughing, like they're using you left and right. So now you're dumped and back to square one. So the other point that I want to make to you that you need to understand, or let me backtrack a little bit. The issue that these women are not understanding is that there is something called human nature, okay? And human nature has this animal part to it. And the animal part contains mating rituals and courtship. So even if this man is not interested in courting you for marriage, there's still in this whole thing for the game of it alone. It's the game, the mating ritual, or the hunting that they're in for. It's their reason for fucking being. The whole hunting. So if they're not going to hunt you down, if they're not hunting you down, they're moving on. Okay? So part of I'm not going to say a tool, but a component, a very crucial component, let's call it the carrot. The carrot that is the main player of the hunting game. Okay? And mind you, if you don't understand that this is a game, that relationships and dating and all this stuff, there is a game within it. If you don't understand that, girl, are you in for a rude awakening and a lifetime being single? Or being, bored out of your mind. So you got to understand the hunting and the game and ritual, mating ritual and courting aspect of it. So you sitting down or laying down and enjoying the great sex because you've discovered it in your mid-30s, guess what? You just got rid of the single biggest little game there is. And without that game, you are boring. You're someone who will be disposable. And yeah, once they've had you inside out and upside down, it's game over. And it's time for next. And that's what the guys do. So what's the next point? So yeah, I was saying that once you start the whole sex thing, once you start, getting it on, you are blinded by it. You are literally intoxicated and blinded by it. This is not a joke. This is for real. Like once your hormones start to flood, oxytocin, dopamine, vasopressin, you see the men, they don't get the same effect from those hormones as women do. You're biologically wired to be attached, bonded. It's called pair bonding in nature. So you're starting to pair bond with this man because you're experimenting how the sex will be. And there goes all the red flags. You are missing all of them now because if you thought sex was priority number 3, guess what? It's now number 1. It's front and center, and you can't think about anything else. You are hypnotized. You're intoxicated by it. So one day you wake up 3 years from now, and you're like, frick, how did I not know that this guy literally doesn't have the ability to pay for a household? Or how did I not notice that he came from a totally dysfunctional family, so he doesn't believe in any of that? Yeah. Or you wake up to something even worse. You freaking name it. Maybe you discover that he has a wife somewhere. Who the fuck knows? So you wake up to some crazy reality. Now, so the minute you start your whole little sex thing with this guy, he is thinking straight. I say it in pretty much every one of my videos. Okay, so he's thinking straight. And if by the time this happened, he's not madly in love with you, guess what? You are just a piece of meat to him. Yeah. So here you are thinking that, oh, I'm just crossing my, T's and dotting my I's. I want to make sure that, sex is really important. Like I kid you not, guys. This is what women are telling me. When they are inquiring for coaching, they are literally telling me this. I just want to make sure that I'm not compromising my sex life, and that I'm not gonna, lack that in the long term. So here she is, making sure, this guy will, will be the type who makes her, come or whatever. And she's like focused on this because it's very important to her. I swear they're telling me this. This is so important to them. We're going to talk about the actual importance in the end, towards the end of the video. And the guy is like, again, free sex, yay. And you are preventing this guy from falling for you, for actually being into you, because for them, the minute you give it to him, they can think straight and out the door they are. Whether it be mentally or literally, they start to fizzle out. If they weren't madly in love with you, if they hadn't told you by then that they want to spend the rest of their lives with you. If you weren't wife material by then, it's game over. No matter how great they're fucking. No matter how great you come over and over, it's a ticking bomb. So there's, like the very obvious points. Now, let's talk about the phases of a relationship. So when you first meet someone, they're new and they are so exciting and they're exhilarating. And that starts a period called the honeymoon stage. But this natural, like heightened polarity state, it doesn't last naturally forever. After scientifically 18 months, which is like a year and a half or whatever, the natural polarity, it disintegrates. So let me just tell you why this guy is so hot, why you are so attracted to him. Like, when I say attracted, it means you are sexually attracted. It is the new person. It's someone you don't know. It's the mystery of him, just as you are the mystery to him. You are a new toy. You know when you have like a new, I don't know, bag or a new whatever toy you have, it'll stop being a novelty after a while. So why? Welcome to human nature. That's what humans are like. Something is interesting in the beginning, and then the novelty wears off. So it's the novelty, the unknown, that makes someone so fireworks. You get it? And if they are, a bit hot and cold, a bit, where you don't know where you stand, even hotter they are. You get it? So this newness of a relationship, it's no longer new after a year or two. After a year or two, he's immune to you physically. Why do you think so many top models are dumped, are cheated on? Why do you think all that hotness of these two hot couple, why do you think those two fizzle out? Because in every single fireworks couple, all of that tension and polarity, it fizzles out after a year and a half. And so the next stage of the relationship is the depolarizing stage. And this is when, if you're not married by then, this is when the relationships end. A year and a half, 2, sometimes 3, because both of them, try to make it work. So when the depolarization happens, or depolarizing happens, when you are in a marriage, you will start you will be in a safe container, where you will start to kind of heal each other. There will have to be inner work where there will be triggers that are caused by the wounds that each of you come, right? And you go through a period of inner work for some time, maybe for some years, and then you will come into a phase where the relationship truly solidifies and truly blossoms. So the point number 3, there's 4 points. No. Yeah. Okay. I just don't want to forget the hormone part. Let me just write it down. Hormones. So the other point that I was coming on to is, when you're wanting to have as a priority the whole sex life, the question to you is, what will happen when you enter that depolarizing state and you are not married and you're not in a intentional relationship, in a divine union? What will happen then? So you had a fantastic sex life with this guy in the beginning for the first year. What will happen then when the depolarizing happens, which happens to each and every couple? What will happen then? Yeah. If you're not, in an intentional divine union by then, good luck to you. It's game over. Very likely it's game over because there was never an intention of being together forever. There was never a declaration of his love to you and a real commitment, which is marriage. What will happen then? I really want to invite you to think long term, to think forever when you're talking about a mate for life. I invite you to think about forever, not about the next year or two. So the other point that I want to make to you, so, okay, these women in their mid-30s and 40s, so from age 35 to like 40 something, when they start to have that itch of like, oh, I know how to have great sex, and now I know how to like orgasm from the A spot. And so that phase happening like from mid-30s to like somewhere in the 40s, let me just say, the reason why it kind of intensifies when you're in your 40s, like 40, 41, 42, 43, it kind of reaches a peak. You know why? Because that's just before it starts to decline. So estrogen is the cause for you to be kinky and horny. It's the high estrogen that is peaking, is being really like, first, when you're a teenager, but then in your mid-30s and in your 40s, it starts to rage. Okay, like raging estrogen. So what will happen when you hit 45, 46, 47, 48? What will happen when you start to reach the pre-menopause time? So you know that when women don't have estrogen anymore, it's the party's over. So you will read and you will know that women into their 50s and so on, they continue to have sex, but it's not the same as when you were young and had a bunch of estrogen. By that time, you'll have to pump into your system a fuck ton of like artificial estrogen. You know, you'll go into hormone replacement therapy, right? And it will not be the same. You get it? So that short-lived, mentality of like going off your hormones when you're 38 or 39, what will happen when it's game over? If you're not willing to go into the hormone replacement therapy on all these things, guess what? Sex will be kind of a chore to you by the time you reach menopause. And then, if you continue with your short-sighted priority of wanting to have a great sex life, when you are in your 50s now, you're all alone with your cats, making a lot of, or having a lot of regrets. So, going back to the big point here, do you have to compromise the great sex life for a great guy? Well, let me tell you, every single couple will have to do the inner work to rebuild polarity after the honeymoon. Welcome to the planet Earth. Yeah, where all of us, every single one of us in a long-term couple needs to learn how to maintain the polarity, learn how to maximize it, which is what I teach in my practice and all of that. And so you left the great guy because he wasn't the best, when you were there trying him out. And I'll come to that. I'll come to that in a minute, trying him out. Hold on, let me write it down. Trying him. So you left the great guy because when you were trying him out, he wasn't the best in bed. And just to figure out that no matter who it is, you're going to have to recreate polarity and learn to have a great, sort of sex life, no matter who it is, no matter who it is in the future. Now, granted, I'm not telling you to be with someone that you are repelled by, but you don't need to try out anyone or any of that, because if there is any attraction, you will feel it at a distance. You don't need to get further, ruining your prospects. If the chemistry's there, the attraction, the whatever, is there, you can totally feel it. And that and that's there, So again, at the beginning, you may be with someone who that whole sex thing was great, and then goes away in 2 years. Or you can be with someone that maybe wasn't the best at first, and then learn to, know each other and create polarity and have a really good time after, because everyone has to learn to do that anyway if you're in a long-term successful relationship, right? So a lot of you with this sex addiction, right? Because, at some point it really is that, because that's all you're prioritizing in the end, right? So you're continuing to reject men that are perfectly wonderful just because it wasn't that type of fireworks that you were hoping for. So I don't really see a compromise, because the great sex guy is going to, things are going to change anyway in a couple of years. So where's the compromise? You have to learn to work on that with any couple you're with. You know what I mean? So there's really no compromise. What you are compromising is literally the ability to be together with someone happily and have a family. Because again, these women, they are chronically single. I don't know any single one of them that ever came to me with this dilemma of the sex, the whole sex addiction topic. Not a single one of them, after the years, has ended up, like changing her mind and being happily ever after. Do you know when they changed their mind? When the estrogen was gone. When they hit menopause at 45, 48, 50. And now they're alone. They're cat ladies. They're spinsters. And now they're starting to think, yeah, but before all that estrogen is gone, oh no, they're still, oh no, they don't want to settle. They don't want to settle. Okay? So just to finish, I've mentioned this before. Imagine if men were like, let me try her out. Let me see how tight she is. If she has like little tits, I'm gonna dump her. No, I'm not gonna compromise. So I'm telling you, women literally come to me with those words. No, he doesn't have a big enough dick. He's not good in bed. Imagine if the men measured you or judged you with the same, like standard. And the ones that do, they're supposed to be assholes, right? And they're supposed to be assholes, and oh my God, they're gone. So there's no compromise, because you have to learn to create that polarity with no matter who it is after a couple of years, whether it be the guy that was great in bed, he'll be different a couple of years after. It'll be different. It won't be the same thing. Yeah. So that's kind of my message to you. And it's probably the last video that I have on this topic. Because again, the women that come to my practice, by the time they come to see me, is because they've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, they've been used, abused, like they are ready to stop wasting time and messing around, right? These are the women that are ready to find the one and get into divine union and so on and so forth. So yeah, ladies, I hope if somebody hears this video one day, can use this to think long and hard, instead of finding themselves alone at 48 or 50 with zero estrogen left. So I want you to really think about your priorities and understand the human nature aspect of it. Understand that shit's not forever. You have to work on it. You have to learn polarity. And that's it for now, ladies. So talk to you later.